No, I didn't. We need to get YouTube started. No, we need to get YouTube started.
It's already on.
Okay, we're all set. Permits and subdivisions?
No.
I know none. Dog control officer, he had a complaint concerning barking dogs and dogs running at large on Hills Pond Road, pending further investigation. So that takes care of the dog control officer. Next item is tax collector.
We're done for the year.
Okay, good. Good job.
My calendar is zero.
Good for you. Planning board report, Bonnie.
We had our meeting on May 12th. Unfortunately, there was Matt Pratt and me. Renee was getting ready to go to Louisiana and Ginny wasn't able to come. So we just discussed somewhat the issue that we've been discussing about Route 4. And I had printed out for them what I had written so far. And that's mainly just pulling out from the 2005 report what had to do with our end of town. Our next meeting is going to be on June 9th, but we did have since then, was contacted by Maggie Ingerson, who is looking to put a food truck at the Flubberbusters, hopefully starting next weekend. And I talked to Chris Jones at Washington County Code Enforcement. He sent me information. He had a whole checklist for her that I forwarded on to her because she has to deal with county health department on the sanitary part and the county code on the fire safety having to do with the propane and electrical. She was really happy that she came to me first. She was really afraid to go to the county because she wasn't sure what they would ask for or what they would do. And I assured her everyone over at the county is always wonderfully good about helping you. They're never get upset with you, no matter how dumb the questions are. And I have to tell you, compared to the state we're next to, Washington County does one hell of a job in their code enforcement. I also had an email today from Jeff Kehoe. They have set a date finally to award the grants, which will be October 1st. So it'll be a while before we hear anything. And the only other thing I wanted to let everybody know is that Patty's Patch is now open 8 to 6. We have lots of plants. If anybody's looking for nice, bright, colorful things. That's all I have. I really don't have anything.
Do we get a commission for everything that comes out of this meeting? Business?
What?
Do we get a commission for everything that comes out of this meeting from Patty?
Sure, why not? No. It's a business in the community. We want to help it get going big already.
We're trying to help the town, yes.
Yes, that's right.
Uh,
Sales tax there, we do get a little piece of that, you know.
Yeah. Planning board report, is that it?
That's it.
Any questions for Bonnie? Okay, highway superintendent's report.
Okay. So, men started grading the roads. Hills Pond Road, Quibby Hill Road are done. They started on Station Road and Ballard Road. They started ditching on Ballard and Station. While ditching Ballard, we found a collapsed culvert and we had to replace it. And we also found another one today and they replaced that one also. With the help of the village of Granville, we started working on Greenfield Lane with cleaning out some of the culverts and the drainage line. Up there from the top, there's a culvert and a drainage line that goes all the way down to the bottom. We were starting going in, they have a sprayer that goes in and they could just dig out all the culverts and the dirt. Well, in the meantime, we stopped because we couldn't go any further and found a drainage box that was covered up with about 8 inches of sod and lawn and everything else. So we dug it all out, cleaned it all out. Their machine sucked all the dirt out, and we flushed the drain all the way from the top, all the way down, had the water flowing good. And this will help stop the overflow of water going down the edge of the road and washing off the road. Next week, we'll be ditching Greenfield Lane. We also cleaned out the culvert by Bill Gage's house that was plugged solid. We received our CHIPS report from the state. Our CHIPS money is $65,146.47. Paved New York is $16,875.18. And extreme winter recovery is $14,645.61. For a grand total of $96,667.26. And when we add the $23,000 that we budgeted for paving, we have $119,667.26 to go towards road repair. The men have replaced a bunch of road signs. We ran out of the posts, and when we get more posts, we'll finish putting them up. They mowed the cemetery, hauled in more gravel, also cleaned up a bunch of trash that was thrown on the side of the road and Harvest called for. We found the receipt, and it was turned over to Washington County Sheriff's. And that's it.
Okay,
So,
hold on 1 second. I need to share the Zoom meeting with information, so. Oh, that's not what I wanted. There. Sorry. Okay, so in terms of paving, I know you've got this sheet for us to, submission for expenditure of roads.
Yep.
Funds. You've got 45,000 for chimney and $70,000 for Tricky Road.
repairing the field.
Yeah.
So I talked to Ken Luskin. He went up and looked at it, retired. He was gonna come up with something that we can do to fix it. He hasn't gotten hold of me. I've been calling him, I've just been getting voicemail. So my next step is to call Peckham's themselves and step over Ken's head and find out what they're gonna do. They said they're gonna work with us, but we can't, whatever we have to do, we have to fix the problem that we have there now before we can do anything else to it. The problem is the potholes are completely unbelievable. It never should have happened that way. They didn't do a good job when they reclaimed it. Of course, one time we told Ken to go up, and the road's great. I went up and, well, that's because we just graded it. And a week after we graded it, all the potholes were back again. We cannot get deep enough with our grader to dig up underneath the bottom of the potholes, which the only way to do it is dig down underneath the potholes to get rid of them. As our scat fire on the grader is 2 feet wide. I mean, we would be there to dig all them out. You're talking probably 3 weeks alone with our, so we're gonna get them up here, they're gonna do something, and it's gonna cost us, but it's gonna get fixed. I've had way too many complaints from the people that live on the road, and I understand. I wouldn't wanna live on that road either. It's not something we did on purpose. We did it because we did another road and it came out great. We did it, but Peckham's didn't do it the same way. And they had already gotten the money, so they were pretty much, well, we got paid, we must have been happy then. So I just don't know. We were banging our heads trying to fix it. That's why I left the thing blank on what we're gonna do, but we have to do something. I can't see putting $100,000 of blacktop on there and then potholes and just 6 months later, we're gonna have them seeing potholes just in blacktop.
Well, my concern is that how much should we be paying for them to fix that road that they screwed up?
Yep, right. Yep.
$70,000?
Yeah.
I mean, the real problem is when we talked about it last year, we have no agreement with them that said this is exactly what they're doing. They're down 8 inches, they're gonna do this, and this. Didn't happen though.
No.
It didn't happen,
No.
Right.
but we've got nothing to go back to them and say, this is what you promised to do and quoted to do.
They were supposed to go down a foot. It was full depth. Full depth on that is a foot.
Show me the contract. I'll be glad to get the attorneys. And my same answer, it's gonna be he said, she said.
So how much money was that we throw away for nothing?
That was 70 grand to do that.
So, okay. Well, he didn't do it, his secondary guy didn't know that, the second base.
And the kid who did it was from Hartford. He went in and said, I'll do that project knowing that shit, I can get done and be home every night early. When the calcium driver tells us that, and this calcium driver goes, when they reclaim, they're usually pushing me. Today, I had to actually, or no, I have to usually, they pushed me, and they were just going too fast. Usually I could stay way ahead of them, and they kept pushing me. And he goes, that's not the way. I mean, I know, I was there when he ran it, he ran it down to the bottom of the blacktop, and I told him you need to go deeper. And he told me, I don't know how to drive that thing, so he'll go down. I said, but when the other guy came in and I told him he needs to reclaim that needs to go deeper. And he went over and talked to him, and I saw him crank it down, but within 100 feet, he blew a turbo in. So then we waited an hour for the next other one to come in. When he dropped that one down, that one went full bore, full steam ahead.
The Jeff was out 70 grand.
From now on, we got contracts exactly what they're gonna do. We just can't say that they're gonna do full reclamation. You know, because you got nothing to hold them against. Spend that trying to get the money out of them.
They just get bullshit.
Well, I've said for years, we should get other people looking at these roads and fixing the roads.
So have you got a timeline on when that's gonna be done?
I want a Hickey Road done by Memorial Day, but I don't know if they'll ever get there. I want to get everything done as quick as possible, so we're able to get our money back. You know, I'm not gonna wait till the end of the year and pray that, we're gonna get that money back.
Might not be no money left in it.
It's gonna be, ASAP, and that's just what I told Ken, like, oh, I want all this stuff settled, at least Hickey Road, by Memorial Day weekend. You know, Manchester Road, luckily I've got Louis over there, and Louis is gonna do a little bit of stuff for us down that way, so. Now, he's not gonna charge us for doing, I think we've got 100 feet of, between Louis Road, the town of Hampton owns a 100-foot section of road. So instead of Louis stopping, he's gonna pave that 100-foot section. And we're gonna do shared services with him to pay him back instead of paying Whitehall. We're gonna help him haul sand or, haul gravel or something like that. For a couple days. Louis is really good. We work good together. But it's just, we're not the only ones fighting Peckhams. I think,
In Hartford.
Hartford and somebody down
But doing business.
south. It's got a problem with them.
They're driving the highway superintendents too much.
I don't get it. I can't even get a goddamn.
So are you doing the agreement to spend on highway funds? Is that what that is?
I put it in early, see if we could be one step ahead.
Mhm. Well, we should already have what we're gonna do done here and agreed on.
This month, yes.
Should have had that already.
I
Should
got
have known
a
exactly
call,
what
got
to
a
do.
call.
Well, 70 and 45 doesn't equal 119.
70 and 45 doesn't equal 119.
Yes,
You know,
it's 115.
Uh-huh.
I don't want to go over 119. Sometimes something happens and you have to pay a little bit more. If I don't go the whole 119, I've got some left over.
take care of it next year.
Yep.
Mike, you wanna look at these?
Are you supposed to sign
That's up to the board.
When you go put the culvert in on
It doesn't do that. The problem is they don't authorize us to spend the money.
culvert in on
it? We don't get it back.
Yes, the county gives me.
And if we don't spend it,
Down there,
you lose if you don't get
they wind up,
the money to be reimbursed by August.
say,
The
okay.
cash flow is gonna be hurt.
Yeah, I know.
Not we won't have the money, it's just our cash flow because we won't get reimbursed until like November, December.
Go back over, we
So
got
we're
to-
screwed. So I shouldn't say that.
I mean, I'm
It's
just.
just frustrating. that he hasn't got the other thing working.
Just waiting. All we can do is, we put everything out there and we just put it into that. I don't know, I'll just wait.
Okay, so it's up to the board what they want to do. You want to wait for Donnie to come and talk about it with Donnie?
Herb, is that the actual form?
If we don't spend it, we're gonna lose it.
Say it again.
Yeah.
I said, if we don't spend it, we're gonna lose it.
Oh,
Right, I
okay.
think we should make a motion to authorize it.
I need a motion to authorize expenditure,
I'll make a motion to authorize the expenditure.
I'll second it.
second by Tammy. I'm going to say that I would like to see any agreements before we authorize the work being done to make sure we're covered from this happening again.
It needs to be put in writing.
Needs to be put in writing,
Absolutely.
and I will ask for a roll call vote on this.
Because it got to be fixed. The poor people got to get their road fixed.
Councilman Pacheco?
Yes.
Councilwoman Taryn?
Yes,
Councilman Sadie? Absent. Councilwoman Sweeney? Absent. Supervisor O'Brien?
Yes. We'll need a second one to sign these.
Yep, I got one here.
These duplicate.
Why do you need a duplicate?
It says executed duplicate this blank day of.
I don't think you have to do that anymore. On mine, it's always all crossed off. That's why I
Okay.
asked her where you got the form from.
Okay,
This was on my computer from last year. So it says agreement superintendent, town of Hampton, Washington County, New York, undersigned members of the town board.
That's all right. I'm doing a second one. I vote when they always done one.
I know one of them, I have a copy. I don't know.
Yeah, I usually just have the original.
Yep.
copy.
Hey,
They
it's
don't
only
have-
paper.
so
Cody, you can jump up.
okay, next on it, I would like I talked to Travis, not Travis, Tyler a little bit about this. And I think I talked to you, I'd like to set up tours of the roads. I think we're embarking on a new venture of how we're gonna operate the highway department. And I really would like the town board to, at least in one or two trips, go out and have explanations of the road, where they're at, what the status of the roads are, and what they see as being done, because I think it's important for everyone to understand the roads. They're not getting any better. We need to come up with a long-term plan to make sure we're fixing these roads properly. So I will work with Herb and Tyler to come up with some dates. And then whether we can do it, we can do it in one group if we don't talk. If we just listen and observe and ask questions about the road, but it probably might be a little bit better to do it in two groups so that we can all be in one car, so we can all be in one car so that when they go along, you can explain different things about the roads and what we're seeing on the roads. I think it'll help us understand the job we have ahead of us in front of us to improve the roads, and you know, we need to have a long-term plan on what we're doing. So I'll set that up. I'd like to do it in the next 3 weeks. So if there's dates that work better for you, Mike and Tammy, and Don, let me know. This is important to the town. Whether you do it on a Saturday or something, or an evening, we'll work it out.
Yeah, usually every Wednesday I'm off and
Okay?
No, I'm not. Never off during the day.
No, I was talking about later in the episode.
He's talking about day.
No. We'll work it out.
Good,
For people's schedules.
good idea.
Yeah. Next, I got a job description for the highway superintendent I passed out. I have had to send this to civil service. Civil service needs to get it approved. The job description, also the classification of it. The current personnel officer in Washington County has already talked to the state civil service office about it. She's got their leanings, what they want to do. And basically it will be an exempt position, so it can be salaried. And with that, there's no overtime. But they have to wait until they have the next meeting in the fall to confirm that. But she says that's the way they were steering her. And I also know other places that have done it the same way, so working on that. If you have any questions on that, let me know. Next meeting, we'll talk a little bit more about it. Looking at it. I also like to, I also put a copy of an ad to go out in the paper, and it's probably in Sentinel and the Whitehall Times. And also we'll put it online and see if we get any responses to it. I'd like to start doing that towards the end of, middle of June. So we can have some resumes, potential resumes, and applicants come in to review and look at and start working on what it's going to be. So if you see anything that,
You got it still here.
I got a what?
Air missed have experience working.
Okay, thank you. Damn spell check doesn't anticipate what it is. I do want, once we have the job description, advertising hiring process, before we go to hire someone, I think we should have plans for what we're going to do forward, how we're going to manage it, how we're going to look at it, how we're going to make sure that we have a process in place. So we're ensuring that the highway superintendent is putting the right plans in place. It's still their decision what they do, but I think that we can help them guide them in process and make sure that we're dotting the i's and crossing the t's so the contractual issues are all taken care of.
There's another error, Dave.
Okay.
Equipment managing the highway crew and all other duties up for the top
Okay.
and all other duties. Yeah.
Okay. So next meeting or before the next meeting, I really want to sit down and talk about this through and make sure that we get input from both the current highway superintendent and the deputy highway superintendent about what they think they should have. I mean, really should be talking about what we end up doing is one thing, but we should talk about the structure, how it's going to be structured, the process we're going through, and sign off on things so that everyone who is in that job understands exactly what their responsibilities are and what their capabilities are and what they have to do to make sure that we're protected so that events like what happened on Hippie Road, we have the contracts in place so if something goes wrong, we can go back to the vendor and say something and we'll have it in place. So we'll do that. I also would like to appoint at that time a town council member to act as the liaison with the highway department. I don't think that it should be the entire board talking to them. It should be one person. That's the main conduit back and forth. And I have some thoughts, but I will think a little bit more about it. But I really think that would be beneficial to have one contact and not multiple people talking to them. Any questions on those?
Are you gonna put any kind of pay in there? Are you gonna put this in the paper or people wanna know what? I don't know how you guys can do that before you do the budget.
We really can't, but we can have an idea that it's going to be at least what the current, not the highway superintendent, at least what the deputy's making or more.
We generally, the terminology, isn't it commensurate with experience?
Could be commensurate with experience, right?
So is that
I just didn't know if somebody calls
That's
up
what
and
it
asks, when am I
is.
gonna get paid for this, because it doesn't say it in the ad.
It depends.
They're gonna get a full-time highway superintendent for $13,600 a year.
Okay.
No, they're not gonna get one for that.
I mean, are they going to fire one of the guys that are there to hire a full-time superintendent?
That's up to the board and what they hire.
You know,
We'll see who the applicants are and make our decision.
trying to get two guys that get some work done in there.
The only problem we have with moving this to an appointed position is we have to actually open it up for all, any and all. We have to let people apply for the position.
Mhm.
I will tell you that I have asked a couple towns what they pay the highway superintendent. I know Whitehall is 52. Bramble's not much more than that. Argyle, which has a larger road system, is about 60. I won't tell you what Hudson Falls is because that's almost half our budget for the highway department. But that's sort of what I'm looking at. That's the numbers I've seen. We're gonna look at hiring someone who is qualified for the job. People of experience and knowledge are gonna be the leading candidates, but we have to go through the process. We can't just go and say, we're gonna hire this person. That's not the process we could take. We would be criticized for doing that. So,
Matt just jumped on.
Yeah,
yes. So that's it. No, we can't settle on the number until the budget takes place, but I think there's several things we need to talk about. We need to talk about the structure of the highway department, what's needed, how many hours we need. You know, for years, we've had 2.5 people working there. So there's gonna be times where we're gonna need a second person, especially for plowing and for other things. Just having 2 people without backup or assistance someplace is really gonna keep people back. It's gonna move the department backwards. So we'll have to take into consideration. I'm not trying to say what we're gonna do or not do, but I think we should listen to the people there and then figure out what we want to do in the structure. So we can't go backwards. We need to go forward. The highway highways have been an issue for years. And we need to make sure we're investing in our roads for safety's sake. And when we take a tour of the roads, you're gonna be surprised at how bad some of these roads are getting and how quickly they're deteriorating. After talking to Tyler for a second, he was complaining about he couldn't get something and what he was gonna get was gonna be awful expensive. I'd like permission to get a credit card to the town with a maximum credit line of $2,500. That way we can go online and buy stuff for cheaper and get it delivered the next day. He was complaining about something they couldn't get and it was awful expensive. So I think we need to do that at this point. And that's, we'll have to put some controls on that also, but so.
What were you proposing for a credit limit?
2,500 to start.
There's already 3,000 or 4,000 anyways, without permission from the board, I believe, or how is
Well,
what's that limit now?
well,
but
We
not
don't
a
have
credit
credit
card.
I know we don't have a credit card, but I
but
mean,
what the limit is $500.
but
Okay, without approval. For the truck, I think they can go up to $3,500 for the truck repairs, because most emergency repairs, you can't wait to get them.
Mhm.
For rolling stock, I think it's $1,000. Is that right? The rest is $500.
so the $2,500 limit keeps us within, especially for rolling, for the trucks,
Mhm.
keeps us in the limit.
But what it does is like the old John Deere tractor that has the mower and sweeper on it, steering arm went, steering cylinder. Stikowski's had a special order at $760 something. Found it online for what, Dave, 130?
Something like that.
Something like that, and we didn't have a card. Dave ended up buying it, we just reimbursed them. So, you know, that's a big difference, that's a lot of money.
And just think, I just handed them a Uline catalog that had a lot of stuff in it that some they'll never use. There's some stuff they may use, but the prices are cheaper. I mean, I'd love to keep all the business in Washington County. I'd like to spend all the money in Hampton, but realistically, There's just not some of the stuff available.
And, you know, I mean, there is no true John Deere dealer around anymore unless you have, you know, you're driving quite a ways, so anything in special order is gonna be. You still have to make ends meet.
And when we have to get a part through Pete, we pay out the nose through Pete.
They can do parts and do it better.
Yep.
I have no problem with it. As long as the rest of the policies are adhered to, it's, you know, just $500 for everything, we're only stopping 1,000.
Yep.
The truck is 3,500. I mean, it doesn't quite make 3,500 for the truck, but I can't believe that we would need to spend the full amount on whatever you're ordering anyways.
So do we need a motion to do that, or are we just gonna
I
do it?
need a motion to do that.
I'll make a motion that we apply for and get the town garage a credit card.
Is it just gonna be for the highway garage?
No, to be fair, we use it for the whole town, but we don't need much else from there. I mean, we have Staples credit card.
Who's gonna hold
Who's
the
gonna be
card?
authorized to use that?
Yeah, who's gonna hold it?
Something similar to the fire department, because everything is online, so I think, you know, you're gonna have to do some of that, but we've got two people that can use the, you know, the treasurer, the president, and maybe the chief, something like that, but it's gonna, it can't be everybody.
It only makes sense to me that it would be the highway superintendent and the town supervisor. I mean, the two. That just makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, you and I, we have no reason for it. Becky, you gotta use it at all?
I don't have a credit card, and I don't want a credit card. I hate 'em.
Okay, well, that's good. We'll make sure that we put that in there, so I like that idea, Don.
So that's your emotion.
Emoji,
That's your
Emotion or emotion?
emotion.
that's my motion.
It's okay, do I
I'll
have a
second
second?
it.
Second by Tammy? Roll call, please.
Councilman Patrica?
Yes.
Councilwoman Taryn?
Yes.
Councilman Sadie?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sweeney? Absent.
Absent.
Supervisor O'Brien?
Yes. Okay, speed limit signs, we're gonna order those?
Yes,
Okay,
I'll get on, I'll send Debbie an email tomorrow.
okay. Thank you. Supervisor report?
Thought there were no amendments.
There are no amendments. Kim and I straightened this out. So there will be no amendments.
So that's on the first page, crossed off.
Crossed off, yeah. We actually paid for the materials for that ramp. And she didn't earmark it for that. I said, you've got, so I needed to give her the invoices so she could make the change.
Oh, that's right, we used, we had
Raise
to
the
pay
money
half
by
and,
Right. And hopefully we're having a discussion about the other half at some point.
Somewhere down the road here. Any questions?
Make a resolution to accept the supervisor's report as presented, negating the changes that are on the front page.
I'll second that.
Motion by Don, second by Tammy. Roll call, please.
Councilman Patrica?
Yes.
Councilwoman Taryn?
Yes.
Councilman Sadie?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sweeney? Absent. Supervisor O'Brien?
Yes.
Over there.
All right, time for chuckle time.
All right, time for a chuckle.
I had the pleasure this afternoon of listening for an hour and 45 minutes about what we can and can't use the stimulus money for. So if the fire department or any other community organization has lost revenue or expenditures during COVID, we could potentially award some of this money to them. This be town board decision. We can also use for animal shelters, food banks, or impacted industrial or businesses in the town.
How about highway, roads?
Well, we'll get to that in a second. By census block, we are below the 60% of median income, so we are considered hardest hit from COVID impact. So we can qualify and can designate for critical revenues to protect the well-being of the residents. So the next use is can claim lost revenues. Claim lost revenues is we had probably, I forget what it was, $12,000 or $14,000 of CHIP money we weren't reimbursed for last year because of COVID. We can claim that. We can claim any lost revenue for the court system. So we go back to 2018, 2019, figure out what an average is we made. Then we compare it to what was brought in 2020 and 2021. And the delta between that and what the revenue was in the previous years, we can claim that as part of lost revenue. The significant part of it is that it is not less the amount when it went to the court system. We get to keep the full revenue. So, for example, in the court system, if she finds someone $200, there's an $85, I think it's still $85 court cost surcharge. Plus they fines them $100 or $200. The state gets part of that. None of this, we get to keep it all. I shortened this up. This is a longer list. A lot of it did not apply to us. Potentially we can get the money back. It was spent for overtime for plowing for essential personnel, and highway department was considered essential personnel. If we had other essential personnel, then we get back the overtime we spent for other essential personnel. Any other lost revenues as compared to 2019 and 2018, we can claim. What there's, I really don't know if there's any. I think that we had our rate of revenue year last year, except for the CHIPS money and the court revenue. We can claim back any other equipment, any other expenditures for COVID, including equipment. We bought 2 laptops, the screens, some other things to have our meetings. We paid the money for the Zoom for it, so we can claim all that back out of the stimulus funds. I think my last calculation is about $2,000 for that. Now to come to your question, is that road repairs are not eligible.
How about I would put in for all the overtime the highway had,
Yeah,
Yes. Yep.
Because most 90% of the overtime is for plowing anyways. I would imagine too,
Storms.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Easily.
They're the only essential people that the town had, so we can get that overtime back. We can use the money to we do infrastructure. The ramp is considered infrastructure, so we can get the money back that we would have paid to do that. As long as we're paying for it at cash and we're not borrowing the money. I didn't write the rules. I thought it was funny, so the cost of doing that, we will be able to take out of the stimulus fund. The other things we're looking at is water quality improvements. Unfortunately, I have a water system, but we do have had complaints with the water here. And we're going to look and see about getting pardon?
Can we drill a new well?
What good is drilling a new well going to do?
Water.
Water's going to be the same water.
Yeah. If, I wish we could figure out a way to classify ditching as water quality improvements. We could actually get some road work done with it, but I don't think that's.
Why not? It's a good idea.
So,
They're cheating, they're trying, that's the way I look at it.
I mean, still, this stuff is still being defined. It hasn't been finally defined. A lot of these questions are going to come up, keep on coming up. We can use for broadband, looking at it. We could take money and give it to the county. So here's one of the thought process going through the county. This is just a thought process. We don't have all the directions. We have no money to spend yet. The thought process was because they think that it's $35 million to finish up all the broadband in Washington County. Just our 2 miles or 3 miles from here to the border is $660,000. So one of the thoughts was is to band together the county, put it together so we get a lot of matching funds from the federal government, the state government to do some of those things. Still in a question is, could we use part of that cash for equipment? That's still up in the air. In terms of that, so looking at it, but broadband, I thought, you know, for $660,000, it'd be much cheaper if this Starlink that they're coming out with for satellite internet, it's done by Tesla. It would be cheaper for us to pay the initial installation cost of $500 for the 20 residents up here that don't have internet and pay their damn fee for probably 5 years than spend on $660,000. So that's one thing I want to look at because they should have internet. One of the reasons that it is $660,000 is the number of telephone poles have to replace it. National Grid's going to make them replace. So we'll see. We'll get more in on that, but we'll see. I've been talking to Spectrum quite a bit, but we'll see what happens. Nothing's defined yet. So there will be other things we use money for, but we'll see. But most people are saying, how are we going to spend this money? We just don't know. There has been thought about a creative way to do roads, but I want to know a lot more before we step out on it. Now, for larger communities, I'm talking about 50,000 people and above, they have an audit process. I don't know what the audit process is going to be for towns like this. Would they even bother coming to Hampton for $100,000 and auditing us? Who knows? But I've gotten up to about $25,000 we potentially use for the things I've talked about. So we'll see what happens. Any questions on that? I sent you the presentation. It was given today. You'll miss the corny stuff by the person who was doing it, but the slides are there if you want to fish through them. Maybe you see something, I got to listen to it again and read it again, but it would have been better if she got right to the point and not gone off on so many tangents. So any questions on that? Broadband already covered. Building addition, we've gotten one quote so far. We've had 2 more people look at it. I'm supposed to get quotes in the next 10 days from 2 people. One's referred by Joe Williams, another referred by a resident guides over in
That you know?
guy over in Whitehall that came and looked at it. The one quote we had was $11,500 to do it. When Don and I talked about it, we wanted to extend it a little bit after the porch here. We want a full enclosure. We just want to put a roof out over that. So it keeps the snow off that area so people can get in and out without danger of getting snow on it. So we'll see.
I think we've had two different quotes. One is just to completely change the pitch and take the dormer off and go straight out. And then the second one is to leave the dormer and tie into 2 valleys, one on each side, just for aesthetics look. Depending on the price, I lean towards the aesthetics. I think that looks kind of nice on the side there. I think it would look more like a salt box style, barn style, with just the regular single pitched roof. I think it would take away from, the building itself, and we'll see what happens.
Okay.
And the quote that I have is with 0 material. We have the material, so it's just $12,000 in labor, which is a little, I was kind of taken aback a little bit. The quote's still in my car. I won't stay there.
Well, I'm not going to be surprised because the amount of labor. They have to peel back at least 3 or 4 rows of this lake to tie it in, the roof in, then they have to reslate it. I have offered to at least 2 of them. I got a guy here in Hampton that loves to do slate roofs, who may come down and help him do it, which would cut down some labor. But we'll see. Any other discussion about that? I mean, Donnie and I have talked about doing it ourselves, but just way too much for us.
Just not enough time in the day, not enough days in the week.
I shared with you a letter from Matt Fuller about cannabis. We have the possibility to opt out of any sales or retail sale and on-site consumption of the cannabis products in Hampton. I know that there are a couple towns considering that. We don't have a lot of pieces, a lot of places to sell it, so I don't know what the board's feeling is, but I would prefer to have the 3% of anything sold in Hampton to come to us. They're gonna buy it someplace. Rather than buy it here and us get 3% of the
We don't
sales
have a huge tax base over the residents, and, you know, we'd still have control over hours of operation and stuff like that. It's just, you know, I don't see why.
So is that
personally-
your store that you're gonna open on the border?
I'd love to. But I think the regulatory process is pretty damn hard.
A little place right here, you know, the store.
Okay. We can put a cutout in the town garage and one of the guys can keep on selling it 2 hours a day. We'll get out the
All
revenue.
the locals that are in business, they're gonna bring your shanty down.
There's a difference. And put an addition on the backside, we'll give the guys a break from.
Right.
And a bigger spot, we can put the
There's a
plow
lot
there.
of competition.
Plus we'll have to.
So that the locals aren't gonna change anything because they're not gonna pay taxes on it, they're just gonna keep doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
So I would be in favor of opting out. I think the board should reflect the views of the community, so we don't have to vote on it now, but we gotta do it quickly. I just think having a pot store in my town is not what I want.
Yeah, I'm with you, Mike.
We have to opt out before December 31st.
That's right, so I want it on the board for next month.
So I honestly, if you want to do it that way, why don't we just add it to the ballot for November? And let the people decide.
That'd be
It
fine.
doesn't cost any more. It's just one more question on that you're filling out. Let the people
Because
decide.
it should be everybody's opinion, but just for me,
Unless
unless, I don't think it'll generate money. Because I think there's a lot of people I know who smoke pot, and I don't have a problem smoking pot. But I don't think the people that smoke pot currently are gonna start going to the dispensary to smoke pot and pay taxes. Smoke pot.
You're
But
gonna grow
I
it in
think
your
they're-
backyard.
they're on it.
Is that something that can be put on the ballot? Have you asked
I
them this
don't
election?
know.
We should check into it for next month. I mean, next month's meeting is June, that gives us 5 months. But we should look at it that way and, you know,
What'd you say?
I don't think you're gonna have, we're gonna have public hearings and all. I mean, if we have to, we have to, but I don't think anybody's really gonna, you know, I don't foresee myself running around trying to garner votes one way or another. It's let the people vote.
It could happen, buddy.
Could happen. I would much rather have you guys control it and let the board start, 'cause we just went through this bullshit.
What's that?
We just went through this bullshit. So I think you guys better control it, not let the public control it.
Because you think if I don't know how the board actually feels, but you're thinking you'd rather have the board make the decision on behalf of the community than
Yeah.
every single person in the community?
Yes.
Are you suggesting that everyone who smokes pot would come in and vote to
You better believe it.
stop that?
Yes, you're right.
Biggest voter turnout that we got.
Bingo. But then you say you didn't want, Mike don't want it in the community, he ain't got no say, because they overvoted it.
Well, the ones who are, here's, how do I wanna say this nicely? The ones who are
Already partaking.
yeah, are, you know, partaking as we speak, are probably going to vote in a negative way to this, are gonna vote
You'll
to
be
opt out.
surprised.
They might wanna have the business
Might
and
want-
just expand their.
Could be.
So, the only thing I thought of is I remember the Hampton Manor days and how many people it brought to the community. And how busy the justice court was and how many fines we got.
Yeah, but that's all down the hill, state gets all that now, we don't get nothing.
I know it.
Well, I think if you opt out, you do have to have a public hearing, because it says that it's look to a local, you have to do a local law subject to permissive referendum.
Permissive, which means if people bring it up.
Right, but you have to pass this with a local law, so to do a local law, you have to have a public hearing prior to that.
Right.
It doesn't mean, if I understand that correctly, it doesn't mean that marijuana is illegal in the state of,
No.
you can still smoke your pot.
Oh, right, it's just that we don't
We're
want to
just
have
not gonna have
somebody
a
selling.
dispensary here.
Yes,
right,
yes.
Well, they're selling it anyhow.
Yeah, of course. Somebody's gonna sell
Well, I just don't.
That's a
I don't
question.
think that.
That's a question if people, we do pass a law and they try and sell it, are they breaking the law and can they be arrested for selling among themselves?
it. This is out of the dispensary portion of it.
Well, in a sense, that's what they're doing. They're dispensing.
Sure,
marijuana.
but this is a legal dispensary that would have to follow all the rules. They would have to have paperwork for their purchases, for their marijuana that they're reselling. And it's not like they're growing it in their backyard and selling it, up and down the street.
So if the board wants, I'll have the attorney put together a local law. Or you want to wait a month?
To what?
To opt out.
Opt out? I
What's
need,
what's the current feel of the four that are here now? I'm either way, it doesn't matter to me one way or another. It's soon, if we opt out of it and nobody can sell it in the town, it's still gonna be sold in the town. It's still gonna be.
You're absolutely right, it's not sold regardless.
Yeah, no matter what, it's gonna be sold.
But
So do we want to allow someone to open a dispensary and make 3% on maybe something, maybe nothing? Depends, because we're not gonna be held liable. It's not gonna be our responsibility. It's gonna be their responsibility. All we're gonna be doing is collecting the sales tax on it. We can't be held liable at all, one way or another.
And to be honest, if you're gonna smoke it, you're better off going to a dispensary because it's better
Quality,
quality. And
what you get.
how do you know that?
And it's not laced with stuff either.
there's lots of
Sorry
regulations.
not to.
They'd have to follow the regs. And it's governed, a dispensary has rules and it's governed. And so it's not laced with fentanyl and laced with all this crap. I'm not a pot smoker in favor of it. I'm just saying, if you have two options, you're gonna grow it in your backyard and sprinkle it with fairy dust or whatever they wanna sprinkle it with, or are you gonna buy it in a legal store where it has regulations and you know what you're getting? I would rather have a kid go and get, or whatever, go get good stuff than possibly laced stuff. That's just my feeling. I'm not, I can go either way.
I'll go to Brownville and buy it then.
they won't be able to.
And then they're gonna drive and
Grandma's
smoke.
opting out.
I just,
See? They're a bigger town than us.
The money would be nice, but I think the people that
So,
open
I-
stores started.
Honestly,
So do I.
I think that no one's gonna build a dispensary
I don't
here
either.
because the cost of regulation, the cost of oversight is gonna be
You're gonna,
substantial.
it's gonna have government oversight and I mean, I don't think anybody's gonna do it anyhow.
The only thing that makes me nervous is the multi-millionaire that just bought Castle or the Green Mountain College. And
Yeah.
that would be something that he's crazy enough to.
Good, let him do it on their
I'm not kidding,
Over
but
Vermont.
He's a
pay less
wackadoo.
money for it anyways.
you got booted.
There's an elementary school going in there. Yep, I was yesterday there.
There's gonna be a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
according to him.
Oh, there's a lot of cover up.
He got booted out of Whistle Pig.
Mhm.
'Cause he's,
So I need direction from the board. What is the board pleasure? Do we wanna think about it for a month?
I
We
would-
have the attorney put together a letter up, law opting out.
I would like to think about it for a month so we have all 5 of the board members here to vote on
Okay,
it, just personally. And that'll give us a little bit more time to think about it.
Mhm,
okay.
I agree.
But I don't have an issue if if someone wants to decide to vote tonight, I don't think we should vote tonight, right? Leonard?
No, you can't smoke pot in here.
I got a good, reliable question for you guys, if you want something to think about. Now, it's legal to smoke dope in New York State now, right? Is that true?
Yes.
No
Why don't
smoke
we-
marijuana, not dope.
Why don't we think about people we're hiring to drive our $100,000 vehicles up here? Are we gonna allow them to come in, have loaded on pot? to drive?
CDL is regulated, there can be no marijuana.
No, do they get drug tested?
They get random drug tested.
So here's the problem.
Let's make sure they do that.
Here's the problem with testing, because the sheriff's department's trying to figure out how to handle this now. Alcohol, you drink it, it flushes out the next day, it's gone.
Pot's 14 days.
Pot is at least 14 days. I've heard longer than that, but just say the 14
It's
days.
14 days.
So I could be on Sunday, I could smoke pot, and I'm not on a truck or anything else like that. We can't restrict them from doing that because they're not driving. 13 days later, they could be tested, they test positive. So
Yeah.
how do you figure out when they did it? And you certainly can't fire them because they did it when they were off on their own time.
If you have the CDL, it's federal.
DOT says you can't drive with that shit in your system, period.
And it's in your system if it's still showing up in your
Yeah.
blood work.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's federal.
That's
So
right.
even if I smoked
So you
it,
don't smoke
if I
pot,
smoke
you
it
don't drive.
13 days ago and on my 14th day you test me, it's still in my
That's-
system.
That's your limit.
That's
Well,
the
that's
problem.
what you gotta do when you're hiring somebody here to work.
Oh, we deal with it every day. I mean, we have guys go get tested randomly and they all know, you smoke weed and you get busted, then you're out.
Yeah, it
So-
doesn't matter.
Actually, one thing that's coming up in my committee on Tuesday is we are gonna have to ban smoking on the entire campus in
County,
the county,
yeah.
because smoking and cannabis smoking are considered the same thing, regulatory. So if we want to keep cannabis out of the workforce, we have to ban it in the entire campus. That doesn't mean they can't go off campus and smoke it and come back on, but they're still breaking the law, breaking the rules of the county by smoking cannabis on duty. They're not supposed to be doing that.
No.
So we may have to come to a point where if we want to, well, actually the CDLs will take care of that, but we're more worried about Becky coming in here and smoking her pot.
Yeah, you're all right, Becky, you keep smoking.
Go ahead. Oh, go ahead, keep smoking, Becky.
There's pot all over her windowsill.
Yeah.
You can just go across the road.
Okay, so we decided we're gonna wait a month.
Wait a month and talk about it again.
I think we're gonna bring it up next month to the full
I won't get
board.
thrown under the bus.
All right, that's fine.
And then at least we have, 5 people voting on it. And
Yeah. Okay. We covered cannabis. That was the last thing I had.
I just have a question because I was late. I apologize for being late. The agreement for the highways monies. What's that? I see that you approved that. I just have a question. Is it the Hick Road is being paved?
Hickory Road, we're waiting for Peckham's to come in and we're gonna work on getting it fixed. It can't be paved the way it is right now
Thank you.
because the
That's all I
potholes
needed to
are
know.
just.
That's all I needed to know. All I wanted to hear, we're golden.
We're going to fix it.
Okay.
Even if I have to go and get a whole nother crew from a whole nother company to come
That's
in,
fine.
we're gonna fix it.
I just wanted to hear we're not paving it. That's all. Because it was funny,
We
I
already
went
did that once, Frank did it once, twice.
twice, 3, 4, shim, oil, stone, but I drove up to go up and start digging the holes to set posts at Bob's house, and as I'm coming down the road on the tractor, I never really noticed that there's a section in that little swale over my house that the grinder never even brought up, it's still blacktop from the old road, it's like, holy
And
cow.
then we probably, when we graded it, there was so much stone
On
on
top of it,
it. We actually had to go up with a sweeper and sweep all the stone off. It took 3 truckloads of stone off it. And when we swept it, it probably,
brought it back up again.
Isn't that stone kind of coarse, would you say?
that stone. And that's another thing, maybe
Yeah.
I had too big a stone.
Yeah.
I mean, you're saying you guys have too big a stone, you guys laid too much stone down, and but you're not coming in to fix it, you know?
So I remember that conversation with Kenny. He said use 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch.
Yep.
They recommended the 3/4 inch to be better.
Yep.
Yeah. So, one of the things is I will review any agreements before the sign gets fixed.
Do what?
I will review any agreements to make sure.
Yeah, anything that comes up will be written, and then that is the day that go
You know, I just,
before we can spend the money.
okay, anything else?
I make a resolution that we pay the bills.
Motion to pay the bills, do we have a second?
I won't second it, because I haven't reviewed the output.
I'll second.
Second by Mike. Any further questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now we do roll call officer?
Well, yes, please.
Okay.
Just quick, write it down.
Councilman Patrica?
Yes.
Councilwoman Tarrant?
Yes.
Councilman Sadie?
Yes.
Councilwoman Sweeney? Absent. Supervisor O'Brien?
Yes,
I still missed the reading of the minutes.
What's up?
So I still missed the reading of the minutes, but somebody was absent the month before.
John Sadie, absent.
Late, absent, tardy.
Absent.
so, we will be going back to live meetings next month. We will have Zoom capability for people who are incapable of coming, that, you know, if you have something that you're away, I'd like you to attend, if you can't by person, by doing it in Zoom, but I prefer to go back to live meetings, and we're missing a lot of interaction in some of these, so we'll go from there. There'll still be limits, the number of people can be in the building. Until everything's done, I think we can do, I think vaccinated people cannot wear a mask. But vaccinated people have to, unvaccinated people have to wear a mask, and they have to also maintain a 6 foot social distancing.
And you're doing that by the honor system because you can't ask people, right?
That's right.
What's that?
That's right. We could say that you reported you don't feel good, we have to contact trace everyone, and if you contact trace them, they have to say if they had the vaccination or not.
You have to notify everybody on the list, it's what you.
What if they say they assimilate as a vaccinated person?
Right.
I make a
I don't
motion
know.
to adjourn.
What's that?
I'll make a
Motion by
motion.
No, I gotta say,
Wait a minute.
can I ask a question?
Sure.
Have you heard anything from Slick on whether they're ever coming to this end of town?
Bonnie, they're coming to that into town. I can't tell you when. They told me 6 weeks. That was probably 6 weeks ago.
They're going to end up coming when I'm gone for 2 weeks in August, and then they'll say, well, you weren't here and you couldn't get connected. So it's like, just checking. Well, I had trouble. Verizon keeps lowering down my bars, and then I can't get on the internet here, even with my MiFi.
Yeah.
So that's all I got. I got nothing else.
So we should make all those companies subsidiaries of town of Hampton and control what they do and say and where they go.
I just wish they made the whole gall darn internet a public utility and gotten it to everybody a long time ago.
I've been advocating for that for 20 years. Unfortunately, the federal government can't get it done.
They can't get anything done. So sorry, didn't mean to say that.
They're getting our pockets real quick. All right, motion adjourned. You have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Second.
Second one.
She made a motion, I second.
Oh, I thought Mike did.
Oh, you might did? Okay. Then it's an aye then.
Do you want?
I don't feel care.
Councilman Pacheco?
Yes. You got it all
Councilwoman
wrong.
Tarrant?
Yes.
Can I leave?
Councilwoman Sweeney? Absent. Supervisor O'Brien?
Yes.
You can have the block. I got my. Oh, that's your personal thing? What?
That's a sharp reference, you got it.
Don, do you want to see?
I do.
Oh, I got something else I want you to think about. This is,
Oops, sorry, we're adjourned.
Yep.
No, I just want you to think about this. We've had a request from William Miller Farm to take over the cemetery. We're trying to find out the process of it. Just think about it, if that's something you're be willing to do. That and the parcel behind us, it was given to us by, what's his name? Jonathan Brown. So, I
That's
don't,
the one over off of Golf Course Road.
we can't even figure out how we got control of that cemetery to begin with, because according to William Miller, Seventh-day Adventists, they think that that was part of their property and was never deeded over to the town, so we just don't know.
Yeah, it's right next door.
Okay. Just wanted to-